Hello YouTube, this is Unicron 24, and I have a little story. Now what if, all these alien movies with the show being abducted and captured and doing all these tests on and stuff, and you know what I'm saying, the scary ones where you're locked up in this room and they're over you and they're cutting you open and harvesting you and eating you and all this stuff, like the movie Aliens or the Cowboy and Aliens, or all these alien movies. What if it isn't aliens? What if it is like people are doing that? What if we found out that the medical big pharma used to do that to people? What if we found that out? What if that's the real story? What if it was like that? So what would we do? How could we change it? So I've done a little digging and I found, a little bit of dirt, a couple rocks, what was it in the Nazi camps? They did bunches of tests on people, many different ways. Then there's the stories of people in those, psycho wards and stuff. I don't want to say psychotic because maybe some of them aren't. Maybe they were turned that way, and then we find these weird, strange, hairless animals with 5 real long claws and a weird tuft of hair on the back, and we, it's like, and we have deformities and all these things. They say, oh, this has been happening forever. Well, didn't the Nephilim genetically mess with stuff before too? Like the movie Swamp Thing, where they're making things that are vegetable and alive. What was it? Venus Flytrap's kind of close to that. Little Shop of Horrors, Swamp Thing the movie, And then we have all the chimeras and Roman not gods, but the Minotaur and the Snakehead woman and the fish dude and all that stuff, so it's like they've been doing it for a long time, so they probably got it down to pretty good damn science, just like the old vampire movies. They looked all cheesy, the guy with the white face at first, kinda, and then it was like this weird cheesy monster with fangs that looked like a skinless bat, and they ended up improving it, maybe the first, like in the movies, and now that when they turn into vampires or bats, they look almost real. Maybe that's like what it was in the beginning. They're genetically messing with these people with different genes of different creatures and stuff, and making these creatures, and they look like all cheesy, like kind of deformed and almost like a bat and a person type of mix, like in the werewolf movies or the vampire movies, when the vampires or werewolves get killed and they slowly transmorph back into a human. They kind of look like they're deformed and stuff, like the stories of in the olden days. There was children that were deformed at birth, and people thought they were demons, so they would hide them in forests and stuff, and then they would live out there as like feral children and make their own communities, and maybe they were the hobbits and the trolls and the ogres, because they looked different, because they were messed with genetically by these not superior, but we just have to admit that we've been through these cycles, and kind of like Mad Max, we've already went through Mad Max, we're here now in the information age, you know. But Mad Max isn't a future thing, it's a past thing. We're doing it again, but it's different, it's now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I really mean that. You know, like, what if there was high technology back in day one? They had cars and all this stuff, and then some shit happened, whether it be man-made, God-made, or just natural disaster or galaxy-made, you know? And say half the world gets blown up, like a lot of theories say, you know, a lot of ancient texts say. There's only a handful of people left, and they can't get the oil, and they can't fix computers, and there's a guy that can make belts or fish or make pancakes, but there's no one left that can make that stuff, so they utilize what they can, and as they go through generations, they're like, this is, you know, we can use it for something else, and then basically the car's gone after a while, just melted away or disintegrated because they've used it for all these other things, because everyone wanted to be simple again, because it had to be. You didn't have foundries and oil and energy and all this stuff. Not many people survived that knew how to do that stuff. Some people that survived are just the people that were just living off of it at the time. So, you never know. These stories have archetypes, and they're repeated throughout history. Whether they be true or false, they're still interpreted by the perspective of a human mind, which is very limited. We say it's vast, but how many humans really have done anything really, really astounding? You know what I'm saying? With their mind that blew men away. You know? That blew the human mind away. No one has done that yet. There's been stories of the Jesus and of the Buddha and of all these other people's, what do you want to call them? Look up to's. You know, they look up to them because they respect that. And it's like, how can it be? How can everyone have all these different people to look up to, you know, whether they be gods or not? They may have had that superior mind, but really haven't changed this earth for any better, you know. You know, they might have parted the sea, or cured the sick, or raised the dead, or, you know, fed thousands of people. But then there's continuance from day one, death, murder, and you know what I'm saying, the planet still consumes itself. You know, there's ants that will kill to survive. There's snakes that still bite. We still have to eat and shit, so it's like, it's still being in a destructive mode. Our cells are generating and dying at the same time, you know. So that's what I'm saying. No human mind has went past that yet. Like they say, when they say about Jesus, you can do what Jesus did and more if you only have a grain of mustard seed in faith. There's been no human has done anything close to that. No, not the guy walking on the magic water, you know, the Chris Angel dude. No, not him. You know, not the dude, the Statue of Liberty, not the president that made everything disappear and everything okay, you know. So, that's my little story and rant, and I hope to have another one soon. So thank you, and I will, this is June Cron 2 is out, and I'll talk to you soon.